actually do it for me. Oh, it doesn't warn me enough. It's like,
It
oh, you're
doesn't.
live. It's like, hey, boom, here we go. And there's 3 people watching already.
Oh, nice.
To those 3 people, I don't know who you are, but I appreciate you. Welcome to another episode, show where we wing it and talk about tennis, aka tuned into tennis. I am your host, Miles David, and to my right, I have a first timer on tuned into tennis, but not a first time chat between us because Ryan here has become a new member of the. I need a catchy name to like describe tuned into tennis like frequent
The
flyers. I have
community. Yeah.
the community. For now, it's just the tuned into tennis community. But we have Ryan. Ryan, you introduce yourself first, but I have follow-up questions after that. But say hi to the people, Ryan.
Sure. Happy to be here, Miles. Thanks for having me. I might be new to tuned into tennis, but I'm definitely an old hag when it comes to watching tennis for sure. I think, so I'm Canadian. I live in Toronto, Canada. Been a big tennis fan since the late 90s. I think the 98 US Open was sort of the big one for me when I was a little kid that I started
I was like
watching.
5. Oh my gosh.
I was,
Sorry, I didn't mean
I
to
was,
age
how
you.
dare you? I was 11, but yeah, I've been watching tennis ever since. We're in a bit of an odd era, but I'm happy to talk some shit with you.
Yes, I love that. But I have a question for you because I can pinpoint like when. Not maybe I shouldn't say usually. Sometimes I can pinpoint when a member of the community like becomes a frequent flyer, but I can't pinpoint when you became a frequent flyer to like, interacting and engaging and being in the Twitter spaces. I don't remember. Like, I obviously I'm appreciative of it, but I don't remember when it started. Do you remember when it started?
I don't think I remember a specific point, but I've been
Hmm.
on Twitter before it was X, so I've been around for a while, and I love the
Okay.
tennis Twitter community. So I think I just have a little more
Sometimes.
time. Yeah, no, I love it even when it's filled with Crocs and foreheads and everything in between. But yeah, no, I don't know. I can't think of a specific moment, but you're definitely, you've become maybe around Indian Wells actually, when you sort of made a name for yourself in a bad way for a lot of people when you were talking about Indian Wells and Roland Garros and all of that. So I don't know. Since then, at least, I've been more tuned in.
Oh my gosh. You just blew up my spot. Yes, I do think Indian Wells and Miami are a little bit more prestigious in the French Open. And yes, people whacked me over the head for that thought.
Deservedly, I think, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a debate there. Like I'm not all the way wrong, but I'm not all the way right either. And
Totally.
thank you for bringing up the errors of my ways. Okay, we are here to chit chat about day 5 of Wimbledon, the first Friday of Wimbledon 2024. A lot of good things happened, I think, by my metrics. It was a good day to kind of chill out and watch tennis, especially the day after the 4th of July. I don't know about you, but I didn't have a influx of random popping noises, so I was appreciative for that. Was your area okay with the fireworks?
Again, I'm in Canada, so our
Oh,
fireworks were on July 1st. So yesterday was very low key for me, so I didn't have to worry about any of that. But I'm happy
I
for you and your country.
I need to look into how to get there, depending on how things go in the next couple of months. Because
Yeah. Best of
yeah.
luck.
Okay, so let's just start with the happenings on the biggest courts today. And I think let's start with, I think, what would be the most memorable match from today, which is Carlos Alcaraz defeating Francis Tiafoe in 5 sets. Eventually, Carlos got the best of him 6-2 in the 5th set. I watched a really significant portion of that match, and
Same, yeah.
I take away from it not necessarily anything different because I already knew that Carlos and Francis could put on a good show, but I'm pleased with what I saw, and I
Yeah,
think that's just a step in the right direction towards Carlos, defending his title.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was an interesting match. I don't think we learned much new from it overall. We know that Tiafo is an amazing player, that he can have really high highs and that he can have really low lows. I don't think that this was super surprising, but given how poor his form was this year, it was really nice to see him come in. And I think the biggest thing that I was impressed with was how he cranked that backhand. Like he really took it up the line against Carlos's forehand a lot, and that was really nice to see. I think he had some chances in the fourth set, but Carlos really just sort of dialed in towards the end, as he's known to do. And I just worry about him expending too much energy as he gets towards the later half of the draw.
This was his first time dropping sets in the tournament, right? He was tested in his first rounds, but he didn't drop any sets.
Yeah, no, I think that this will hopefully be his toughest match for a while. We'll talk about it probably, but I think his fourth round and quarterfinals should be relatively easy. But
Mm-hmm.
I think, we've talked about this in your spaces over the past week. Carlos likes to take the scenic route. He's got too many options at his disposal. And I think sometimes he just has a brain fart. He doesn't really make, efficient tennis his priority, which is great for the fans. And I love it. But it's really frustrating when you try to watch him and you just would like to see him, lock in earlier.
Do you think he does it on purpose?
I wouldn't say on purpose. I just don't know if I think he's young and I think he loves the game and I think he's having fun and I think he goes for something that's flashy and, just doesn't really play the percentages as much. So I don't know if it's conscious, but I think it's innate with him. He's a showman. And I think Tiafoe is too. So,
Mm-hmm.
in that sense, I think we're treated to a lot of great tennis. So can't complain too much.
If you had to pick or start to kind of explain where you think where Francis's trajectory goes here after, effectively giving the defending champion the best test he's had of the tournament so far, considering the season he's had, which has been below par for his standards, do you think this could be a point of turnaround in this season, maybe, possibly?
I would like to say yes, but it'll be really interesting. US like summer hardcourt season, he should do really well. He's done well before, but I wouldn't really be surprised if he kind of just regresses to form and then shows up at the US Open and makes a fourth round and some noise. I think he likes a big stage. He likes the top players. He probably, I think benefits a little bit from the best of five in terms of, being a showman and being able to sort of play his way into matches. I think we've seen all we're going to see from him in terms of, what he's giving. I don't know if we're going to get anything new. I don't know if he's going to become super consistent. So I don't know. I think if he got a fourth round quarterfinal at the US Open, that might be the best that we get from him this season. Sadly.
So you're feeling like we've seen Francis Tiafoe's peak or thereabouts?
I think I'm really jaded right now when you look at the young guys between, Francis and Dennis and Felix. I have a soft spot for all of those guys. And I really thought that by now they would have made the leap that Yannick and Carlos have. And the fact that they haven't, I just don't know what's going to change, right? Unless Francis maybe got a new coach or changed something about his game. I just don't really know what's going to put all the pieces together that's going to take him from, at best right now, I think top 20, top 15 tennis to beyond that. But, I don't know. The consistency's tough.
Part of me, the optimistic. No. The part of me wants to, like the optimistic part of me really wants to disagree. But the part of me that watches tennis week in, week out is agreeing. Unfortunately, that is what it is. Yeah.
The game would be so much better if he was, in the top 10 and battling it out. Like he's so much fun to watch. And if he had beat Carlos today, I think it would have been huge, right? Like he had that big win over Rafa at the 2022 US Open, and I think that's when he made it to the semis and lost to Carlos. He's got it in him, but since then, I think he's almost, coasted a little bit. And I hope that he takes a lot of positives from this, but I'm really worried that the biggest takeaway from this tournament is going to be the clowns comment. And, he's going to see a lot of clown pictures and memes in his
and they already existed, which is unfortunate. They already existed because trolls will troll, but now there's like they're
as
amplified.
Professional trolls. I think we appreciate that, right? Like I'm not above dropping that into his
are you looping me?
Now and then.
Are you looping me into the professional troll?
Myles, be real. You're a professional, troll.
Ryan is going to hold me to the fire this entire conversation. I love it / hate it. Who does Carlos?
Oh,
go ahead.
I was going to say, where did you think Carlos went wrong? Or Francis went wrong in this match. I mean, he had chances in the fourth set. He had like love 30 at 4-all, I want to say, or 4-5. Like he was close. Like he wasn't too far off.
There were moments in that match where I felt like Francis either consciously or subconsciously let off the pedal. I feel like Francis is one of those players that like can be on the precipice and like be almost there, but something happens when it goes to like lift or like grab the glory, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. And I
Yeah.
saw that just play out in that match. I mean, that fourth set tiebreak was pretty much it. Like he didn't have the same gear or level to go up that Alcaraz did, and unfortunately that separates him from being a top 5 player and a Grand Slam champion. So I don't know if that answers the question of where he went wrong, but that's what I saw in the match. Would I like that to desperately change? Do I hope that could change? Yes, but I'm also looking at the fact that Francis has been on tour for a while, and that's not trending in that way, you know? So
Yeah, I agree. It's like you look at Alcaraz and you look at Sinner in the past year, and they're able to sort of click into that next gear and really just lock down. And they've got the fitness too. And I think Francis's
mhm.
fitness is great most of the time, but I think he was flagging in that fifth set. And I think mentally he gave up almost after 5-all in the fourth, right? And he didn't have anything
Mm-hmm.
left in him.
And I think he's, as evident in this picture right here, he slipped a couple times and he already came into the tournament with that knee
Yeah.
brace because of the MCL sprain he had at Queen's Club. So there were some determining factors. But to be honest with you, I think when I made my fantasy draw and he drew Matteo Arnaldi in the first round, I'm pretty sure I had him losing that just because I was unsure of what his health
It's true.
status would be. And Arnaldi is not a walk in the park these days, you know? So
It's true. I picked him to be in this match against Carlos, and I picked Carlos to beat him. So I think he's performing, up to seed at this point. But I don't know if we can hope for much more than that, except outside, maybe at the U.S. Open. I think he's got a better chance against some of these guys, but that's about it.
I think when there's a crowd that he's familiar with rooting for him, there is something special that clicks, and that makes up for the difference in level and difference of gears that a Sinner, Alcaraz, or even mighty Novak Djokovic can do. And did you just roll your eyes?
No, sorry, I had something. It wasn't eyelash.
I think that helps to close the gap, but in reality, that gap is there, and we'll see how he operates the rest of the season with this match now or beginning to be in the rear view, and hopefully better health on his side. So hoping,
yeah, he shouldn't feel bad about his performance today or at this tournament. I think the fact that he won 2 matches and pushed Carlos, like he should hopefully take a lot of positives away from it.
And it's not like he had 4 match points and blew it like some people we know, but whatever.
Well, yeah.
Okay, that's Carlos and Francis. We'll circle back to who Carlos plays in the next round a little bit later. But for now, let's get to the women's draw side of things and talk about the match that followed Francis and Carlos, which was wild card from Great Britain and former U.S. Open champion Emma Raducanu versus what seed is this next to her name?
9.
Grandpa's getting old. 9, yes. It was the 9 seed. And the number 9 seed did not win.
So not even close.
Yeah, on paper that's an upset, but I think those that know, and specifically those that watched that U.S. Open 2021 semifinal, which was the last time Raducanu and Sakkari played, they penciled Raducanu in as the heavy favorite because one, Raducanu I think has shown in her own way that she's a much better big match player, and Sakkari has shown us quite the opposite. So yeah,
it
that's
was
why
one way traffic, I think, right?
That's how we ended up with a 6-2, 6-3 victory for Emma Raducanu.
Yeah, I'm definitely not a hater of Emma's, but I've been a doubter for sure since the US Open because she's been super injured, the carousel of coaches. It's been, it's got to be tough when you have a country like Britain or the UK behind you because they make every little bat of an eyelash or blink into some kind of media scandal. So I know she's got a lot of sort of pressure on her, but I've been really impressed with how she's, sat out of the French Open, really sort of trying to ramp up for the grass season and everything. And, between her run, I think, was it at Queens where she beat Pegula and now Sakkari, she's beaten 2 top 10 players, her first 2 top 10 wins, and she's got a good draw to make it further, which is great to see.
She does, and I think she has the game and the support behind her game that is just going to, like I mentioned earlier with Francis, kind of close that gap if things kind of get to going haywire, or if she comes in contact with an opponent that is like treeing or playing out of playing out of her mind, as Serena would say. No rock seduced that, hopefully. But she's a
Yeah.
fun watch. I've and it's so quick how I've put her back in the category of a fun watch, because I don't think I would have said that 2 or 3 weeks ago, because she
Same.
hadn't really given me much to work with to put her in that category. But all I did was watch highlights of her win over Pagula at Eastbourne, and I was like, wow, when she's swinging out and taking the ball early and just kind of doing all the things that we saw her do at the US Open and is healthy, she is a fun watch. She is.
She's good.
She just is.
I agree. She's great for the game when she's healthy, and it's a shame because we haven't really seen her play that many matches since the US Open because of the injuries and sort of lack of form. So it is refreshing when you see her healthy. You're like, oh right, like she can hit. She has some variety. She can serve
Mm-hmm.
well. She's a scrapper. I don't think she was really had to display much of that today, to be honest, because Zachary was terrible, like missing routine balls 4 or 5 feet long. And my favorite thing with Zachary is after every routine miss, just gets so angry at her box and looks at them like they've done something wrong
When it's her.
yeah. So Emma didn't really have to do much today, honestly, but it was really nice to see her keep her cool when she had the lead. Playing in front of the British crowd, it would be so easy to get nervous, I think, and tighten up. And towards the end of the second set, Zachary did try to fight by her standards. So it was nice to see Emma sort of hold on. And I think you're right. You can't count someone out once they've proven that they can go all the way. Emma
And
will
win
have
10
that
matches in a row, not just
insane
7,
in
10.
straight
Yeah.
sets too, right? I think, right? It
Yeah.
was something like that. It was wild.
It was
So
straight
she
sets. Yeah.
will.
I looked up the only person to get her to like a relatively uncomfortable part of a set, like 7-5, was some player from Georgia, not the state, but the country.
Yeah, I'm not good with that kind of trivia, so I'll just take your word for it. But she will, moving forward, know that she can do it, and she's been there before. And to be honest, Zachary knows that she hasn't done it, and she probably will never do it. And I think that mentality there is the biggest difference between Raducanu as she continues to advance in her career. She'll have ups, she'll have downs, but she can always rely on that. And I think that'll make her into, or continue to show that she's going to be a really good big match player. I mean, I picked her to lose to Mertens in the second round, so I'm not by any means on the bandwagon, but I'm
I
proud that
think
she's
I did
proven me
that in my
wrong.
fantasy draw too, just because logically, it seems like for every step or two forward Raducanu has made, there's been a progression backwards or a loss that would kind of knock her backwards. So I think I might have done something similar, but I am happy to be on the Raducanu train again
Same.
and seeing how far she can go in this draw. I don't think I want to pick her as the winner, because wouldn't that be kind of odd if she goes from qualifying and winning at the US Open to being a wild card winner at Wimbledon? She wouldn't. I don't think she would go straight to this mindset, but I also wouldn't blame her of the mindset of, I mean, my ranking doesn't really matter. Like,
You know what? And we've seen Serena, in the late 2000s, early 2010s, knew that she could show up,
mm-hmm,
fit or not fit, with people talking shit about her, and she could
mm-hmm,
just lay the hammer down. Now, that is very unique, and I don't think Emma will do that. But
mm-hmm.
I think that she's got like a quarterfinal, semifinal run in her, and once you get to that point, again, anything's possible, especially on
Yeah.
grass when it gets beat up and the crowd's on her side. Like, I don't know, I wouldn't bet against her for sure.
You just put a mental image in my mind of Muguruza versus Venus at the 2017 final. And that was
Why?
probably the most, because not necessarily those two players, but that was probably the most beat up I'd ever seen the Wimbledon
Yeah.
baseline. I hope it doesn't get that way, because it was ugly.
It was for sure. That match gives me. I mean, yeah, that's a traumatic match to think of, but it's true. I don't know. The courts will be really interesting, and I wonder, but they will get beat up. Maybe not that bad, but as they do, is that going to play into someone like Iga? And we'll talk about her probably later on. But I just think the longer Iga sticks around in the draw, I actually think it helps maybe someone like her a little bit more.
That's used to playing on dirt.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Question for you. I think I know the answer. If you could switch positions as far as ranking for Maria Sakkari and Raducanu, would you do that?
As in, put Emma up at 9 and Zachary at 96 or wherever Emma is
Something
now.
of the sort, yeah.
I definitely don't think Zachary deserves to be in the top 10 based on her form. Like, it's embarrassing to be a top 10 player. And look, like, obviously the rankings don't lie, and she's capable of great tennis, but geez, like her slam results have been terrible. She's
Not a
just
single
vultured a
second week.
couple.
Not a
Yeah.
single second week since she got to that semifinal of the US. No, I think she got to the fourth round of the 2022 Australian Open. And since
Mhm.
then, the closest she's been to a fourth round was this third round loss to Raducanu. So it hasn't been easy going for her at all.
No, and I feel bad for her because she's, by all accounts, she's a very likable person. She's super fit. It's just her game looks very stiff
Mediocre.
and brittle. Okay. I wasn't gonna say
Oh,
that, but
is mediocre too strong? Sorry, Sakari.
no,
Sakari,
no,
do
it's
not.
just very descriptive. I was gonna say like laborious. Her strokes, you can feel like the tension in her body, I think, every time she hits the ball. And I just feel like she needs a good sports psychologist or a better one if she has one now.
What was
And
the
kind of
word
just
you
take some time
used?
off. Laborious.
If you're listening to this, don't leave the stream, because if I was not being a host right now, I would definitely be leaving the stream and
You have
Googling what
smart
that is.
listeners. Maybe you
Yes,
don't understand what that means, but I think your listeners do.
my listeners swear that I don't know geography and a bunch of other things, but
Are they
I do.
wrong?
There are parts of the world that I've yet to explore. I'll say that much.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I just mean, I think Sakari's game feels very tense all the time, and
Yes.
Emma's feels very fluid. And I just think that, yeah, I don't know. Get her out of the top 10, get her unseated. I don't want to look at it anymore.
You need to leave.
Yeah.
Okay, but you know who else has a tense game? They're out of the tournament already, unfortunately. But some of those same things that you mentioned about Sakari's game reminded me of Felix Auger-Aliassime's game.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah, laborious.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
There's a new word for you. You'll leave with something you can use for future.
I am going to work that
odds.
into my vernacular one way or another. Don't you worry. We can kind of sit in this match just for a little while because it was really uneventful. There's a big word, not really, but
it's a long word.
It is a long one. Spelling bee champs, let's go and spell uneventful. Thank you very much. But I'm talking about the performance that Yannick Sinner put on center court against Miomir Kecmanovic. It was barely competitive, really. It was done in a little over an hour and a half. 6-1, 6-4, 6-2, and Yannick Sinner moves on to, I believe this is now his third consecutive, at best, maybe even fourth consecutive Wimbledon round of 16. So that is impressive. Yeah, I think he got to the. Did him and Carlos play in 2022 or 2021?
I don't know.
I know they played a fourth round of Wimbledon. I want to say it was 2022, and then obviously he made the semifinals in 2023. I don't know
that
what
sounds right. I don't know.
Pause.
Like, it was Alcaraz in the fourth round of Wimbledon in 2021. I'm not sure.
I don't know what my friend. I don't know what my friend Nadim has commented. You don't, but I have a feeling that it's about my geography skills. But whatever, Nadim, you're just being shady. It's okay. But welcome to the chat, Nadim.
Yes, we want more of these comments for sure.
Yes, you guys feel free to comment, whether you're watching on YouTube or Twitter Spaces. Feel free to comment, give us some suggestions about what you want us to talk about, or just continue being talk shit, be shady. It's fine. What was I talking about? Yannick Sinner.
Yeah, about the match though. I mean, it's really interesting to see, I think, in a really short time from his win in Australia, that he's I think this is exactly what he needed. And he's sort of becoming, I think, like a Fed or Djokovic or Rafa used to, in that he could just sort of routine people. Like Kecmanovic, I don't think is that impressive of a player, but to sort of brush him aside after a tough match against Berrettini, I think he's got to feel really good about it.
I feel good about Sinner. I feel good about the pick that I made, that he's going to be lifting that trophy. And
I picked him too. So you and me both. We'll both either be happy or crushed at the end of the tournament.
It depends on who wins besides Sinner. It depends.
Yeah.
Because there's only one person there'd be one person that I feel like if they win, it wouldn't really change much. But if I say that publicly, then I get backlash because I'm talking about Novak Djokovic. Because if he wins, then yay, 25. If he doesn't win, then he doesn't win.
Yeah, I'm curious, if Novak does win, where will you stand on your elaborate ruse theory that maybe he didn't actually have knee surgery?
It's gonna be stronger. It's not gonna be weaker if he wins. It's going to make sense that he made the whole thing up to kind of continue that narrative of, I'm a warrior, I fight through all kind of obstacles to be the best tennis player in the world, and look at me, I have 25 of these championships.
Yeah, he's definitely he sees himself as a Greek tragic hero for sure.
Mm-hmm. And
I wish
that's
the
again,
tragedy part would
I feel
happen.
like I've said this a couple different times on different streams. I don't want it to be misconstrued and think because people will pile on to me. I think something happened to his knee. I just think whatever it was extremely minor, and he completely was okay with letting it be embellished and kind of made to be something bigger to help the narrative along.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. I
That's
think
what I
he
think.
likes when people count him out. And who can
Hmm.
blame him, right? We do it a lot. I love to do it. Like, it's fun, right? We're tennis fans. Like, we don't have patience. We love to be
It's fun.
dramatic. Like, it's great. But I think that he has a flair for drama too. And he likes when he's sort of, with the spotlight's not on him. Um, Karan
Quran
agrees with
says,
us.
ain't nothing happened to his knee. Quran is adamant and has been adamant in our Twitter spaces that just because he doesn't see like a scar or something, then nothing happened to his knee. Which,
I'm not a doctor. I don't want to get there. My biggest conspiracy about the knee is that if Serena or any woman had walked onto that court with a gray or a black knee sleeve, the way Francis or Djokovic did, they would be ushered off the court expeditiously. They would
you
not be
think
allowed to
so?
play with that. Yeah, I just think that Wimbledon picks and chooses, and they're going to let the men get away with color on their outfit.
So what happened? Something must have shifted because if you go back to 2012 and 2013, Serena's Wimbledon looks, there were some pretty obvious signs of like pop of color, and now here we are 10 plus years later, and it feels like everybody is just kind of completely white, which is the tradition, but there used to be some flexibility, like Tatiana Golovin
Yeah,
back in the day with the red shorts.
Tati. Oh, I missed that. She was so good. Those low-rise shorts, and yeah,
Oh,
that was great.
those were not the highlight of her career, those low rise
Weren't they
shorts.
though? What will be remembered longer? What else did she do well? Quickly,
I really loved her abbreviated serve motion. I have to say that I
she had an amazing
enjoyed.
backhand too.
She had an amazing backhand, and she always used to give Justine Inna a run for her money, which for me personally gave me good joy.
I agree. She gave me very. This is a very silly reference, but very like Ashley Simpson vibes, kind of
Yeah,
like
like
just sort of
socialite,
overly tanned and
socialite
kind of
playing
messy.
tennis,
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah, we'll go with that.
but really good at
Um,
it at the same time. Not just like
oh,
playing around, but really good
no,
at it.
no, excellent for sure. I don't know. I just think Wimbledon makes up rules and changes things however they want, like when they'll move people to different courts or decide not to. But I don't want to go down to. We're on a tangent. I'm sure people aren't interested by
We love
this.
tangents.
Yeah,
Tangents and tuned into tennis goes quite well together.
fair.
So anything else you wanted to say about Yannick Sinner's match against Kecmanovic? It was clinical. It was
It was
great.
clinical. I think I'm more excited for his match in the fourth round, whether, Dennis or Ben are able to get through. That'll be a fun match, hopefully. They're both big shot makers, lefties, big serves, lots of variety. I don't think that either of them will beat Yannick, but it would be really fun to see them, give him a run for his money.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed the aspect of watching Yannick Sinner get tested in his second round against
Yeah.
Matteo Berrettini. So if that happens again, sign me up. I'm trying to pull up the order of play for tomorrow just so I have them when we get to that part of the conversation. But is it out
Uh,
yet? It is. I got it. We
yeah, it
work.
is.
Yes. Yes, for the internet being my friend today. Knock on wood, because I'll say that and then the whole thing will just shut down. Okay, let's move over to court number one, where your countrywoman was in action to start the day on that court. Bianca Andreescu took on Jasmine Paolini, which I think is a rematch of a match they just had at Roland Garros. Correct me if I'm
In the
wrong.
third round, too.
In the
Yeah.
third round, yeah. So that
Jasmine.
was like deja vu, and the same event happened. Jasmine Paolini won, which is
Yeah.
okay. Like I'm not utterly bitter about that. Being a Bianca Andreescu apologist, I guess maybe I'm part-time Canadian. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But
Well, you
I
might move
was
here in 3-4 months.
yeah.
So,
If
you
things get
should get
bad,
on
I
board.
definitely if
You're
things
already a
get
big
bad, I
Layla
definitely look
fan,
for it.
so
I've already visited Toronto, and Toronto treated me very nicely. So
nice.
But back to Paulini, I think that I shouldn't say think. She's having the best season of her career, is she not?
The only season of her career, I might say, that's worth
All
talking
right.
about.
All right.
But
You said that you would be mean before this started, and that was kind of mean.
look, I can't help it. Like, I like Jasmine. I just love Bianca, and she had such a good, I think, sort of mini grass run that I was really hoping she could push through and make it late into a slam draw again. She's only made it past the first into the second week the one time, I think, when she won the US Open back in 2019, which I was there to see actually in person. Very cool experience. But Jasmine's incredible. I mean, she hit with so much aggression today. It was really surprising, and she handled Bianca's variety quite well. Yeah, she is a late bloomer. It's crazy. She looks like she's 19 to me. So when she's what, 27, 28?
And is pushing 30. Like whatever that little dose of like West is it West Africa? Let's see. Hold on.
I know again, the geography is coming up.
it always finds a way to do that. I think she has some descendancy or is a descendant of Ghana, I think. Do not hold me against the fire on that, but I do know in some way, shape, or form. Yes, Vanessa just said Ghana. Thank you so much, Vanessa,
I was gonna say,
for getting me out of trouble. Thank you, Vanessa. I really appreciate it. Yes, I think one of her parents has a heritage from Ghana, and whatever that drop is working overtime because she looks like she could walk into a movie theater for a kids movie and no one would really think or bat an eye, and the whole time she's like an adult and like
I'm very jealous of that.
Bills. Yeah, I am too because I look my age, if not older.
I think it's cool to see though. I like when you see players really switch from surface to surface and continue good form. I mean, obviously she had the huge French Open run, which is really amazing to see. And for her to back it up on grass, and I don't think she has any grass pedigree even leading into this tournament. So it's especially impressive. And, you know, I hate her for beating Bianca, but I can't be mad because she really walloped her. And, you know, I just hope that if she makes it late in a slam draw again, that she doesn't fold over against someone like Iga.
Yeah, that wasn't a easy final to watch, especially if you were kind of rooting for, if not an upset, at least a competitive match. But at the end of the day, like this late bloomer is here making full usage of the fact that she's having the best career or best season of her career, and I'm here for it. She's a fun watch, and like the way she emotes is right in that sweet spot of letting me know that she cares, but not is not overly stressed, if that makes any sense. I like when players find that sweet spot.
Agree. You can see her, she's smiling when she's on the court. She enjoys the heat of the battle, and that's kind of refreshing and fun when you know, again, we were just talking about Zachary, where you can see how upset somebody is and you can see the stress on their face. Or Harriet Dart crying in the match tiebreak against Bolter, although it helped her.
That she went on to win, correct? Isn't that correct from Harriet Dart?
Yeah.
Where do we put our thoughts and kind of expectations? Maybe not high ones, but where do we go with Bianca Andreescu with this after this? What is this now? Back-to-back Grand Slam third rounds, which for a player with her resume being a top 5 player, that might sound very, you know, inconsequential, but it's probably the most it's the consistent. Biggest evidence. Yeah, it's the most consistent she's been in probably since 2019 almost, you know. So how are you digesting Bianca Andreescu?
As a BB fan, I am actually really happy with her performance the last couple months because, you know, 2019 was a long time ago, and it was maybe just really from that Indian Wells through, you know, US Open, and then she had a good match against Osaka, and I want to say like Shanghai or, you know, somewhere in the fall. That was maybe what, a 7-month span, and then she's really dealt with a lot of injuries. So for her to come on both, you know, the two, you know, really tough surfaces, clay and grass, which she hasn't really done much on, make a final on a grass court, make third rounds, lose to somebody who's really in form at both of those slams. I think that we're heading into the time of the year that she really likes. So I'm really curious to see how she can transition into the hard court season. And, you know, I don't think a 4th round or a quarterfinal at the US Open is out of the question. I just think it's really nice to see her healthy. And I think when she's healthy, her, like Emma, is really good for the game. She's got variety. She's got spunk. Some people hate her attitude. I love it. So I think she's just good for the game.
Although I know those people that hate her attitude, I don't acknowledge them.
The people who hate her attitude,
some of them might be in this chat.
Sour themselves. I'm sure they
are. I was hoping that you would say that she's going to lift that Canadian trophy again. You don't think that's possible? That's a little bit too far-fetched.
Possible in an Olympic year where people are going to be switching back and forth from surfaces. I don't know. what will happen. Look, I was at that final with her and Serena. It was really devastating to see Serena retire so early into the match because I think it would have been pretty good. I don't think that she's got a title run in her at a tournament that big just yet, but I'd love to be proven wrong.
Yeah, maybe she can win one of those lead ups. You know what she should do? Maybe this is maybe cutting it too close to the US Open, but I wouldn't be mad if she goes over to Cleveland the 250 the week before the US Open and puts in a good performance, maybe lifts the title, and then before you know it, she's second week of a major again for the first time. I just made all of it up off the top of my head. But again, Bianca Andreescu, if
Sounds
you're
right.
listening, yeah. Wait, what part sounds right? Me making it up or the Bianca actually doing that part?
No comment. All of it.
Oh, Ryan. Okay. Do you have any other thoughts or comments or concerns about Miss Bianca
No,
Andreescu?
I think we're gonna get to the Jasmine's opponent in the next round, and we'll talk a little bit about that match. But I think it'll be a good fourth round between her and Keys.
Yes. Looking forward to that one. Looking forward to that one because it's such different play styles. Also different play styles in a way, but they've been on tour for much, much longer to do it and showcase it. Was the next match after Bianca Andreescu's, which was Grigor Dimitrov, the number 10 seed, versus Gael Monfils. Kind of clinical. A little bit surprised that Gael Monfils didn't put up much of a fight. He was defeated 6-3, 6-4, 6-3. A little, just because I was kind of surprised that he got to the third round. Like at 37, grass has never really been.
Stan though in the second round, so I think that Stan's kind of like a walking by in some ways right now. They're both so injured and beat up that I'm like, I don't really count that as much.
Fair enough, but if I take away from this, Grigor Dimitrov is continuing the renaissance, if you will, of his career, and for that I'm thankful because he could have. Maybe it's a stretch, or maybe a little bit harsh to say that he could have packed it up when it really wasn't going his way, because it wasn't that long ago where he wasn't seeded at Grand Slams, and now he's the 10th seed, coming off of a quarterfinal at the French Open. He's been to a semi at Wimbledon before. It's just nice to see that like he is really putting in the time, effort, and things are falling his way for his career to maybe go out on a high compared to what it looked like his career was going maybe a year or two ago.
No, I agree. I mean, it's nice to see him back solidly in the second week of slams and putting in a lot of work on his game. It's interesting. I don't really think he's changed much fundamentally, but he just seems, and people have talked about this with one-handed backhand players and even Federer, how, in his first few years on tour, it took him a while to get used to the variety that he had in his disposal and really lock it in. Obviously, baby Fed is no actual Fed, but he seems just much more confident in his game with the slice backhand. And I think on grass, he's always going to be a threat because he can come up to net. He's serving well. And, I think Monfils, not much of a challenge. Is this pre-hair plugs or post-hair plugs? I can't tell.
You beat me to the segue because I was just about to ask. You said not much has changed, but I'm wondering if the fill-in in his hairline, which, I mean, as somebody that is bald and is probably covering, this hat is doing some major work right now.
Yeah, I've got a receding hairline too, so I can't.
Do you think there's any correlation at all to him playing better tennis off the heels of his hair texture and all of that improving?
This is a good description of it, I think. Yeah. I mean, he was playing well at the end of last year, and even last year in general, he made some finals, I think, and he was sort of on the upswing. I don't think that the hair plugs really have much to do with it, but the saying like look good, feel good. Maybe he just feels a little bit more
another
confident.
name for it besides hair plugs. Can we just say like the turkey special? Because that's where he went, I imagine.
Definitely turkey special. I mean, hair rejuvenation, maybe. I don't know. He looks great. He's playing great. I think it'll be really interesting to see if he can keep it up. And, this draw on the men's side, it's not out of the question that he could do some damage and go deep. I think he's just a little bit has he built up too much scar tissue from choking and flopping for his whole career?
Whew, those are some tough words, but you're not necessarily wrong. I would like to see him, back in a situation to see if anything has changed. Give us the opportunity to see if the Dimitrov of 2024 has wiped away all of the years of being close and dealing with the big three or other people and not really dealing with the situation or the moment as best as he could. I don't know. Sign me up for it. I have to look into who is his next opponent.
I'm trying to check that out now. Yeah.
Let's take a gander.
Oh, it'll be Struff or Medvedev. So it's actually a
I
very
mean,
winnable match for him.
yeah, I think I don't know what the head to head is against Medvedev. It may not be in his favor,
I
but
think
it
that the
doesn't.
last time he made the US Open quarters, I want to say, or
Mm-hmm.
semis, he lost to Medvedev. Maybe it was the year that Medvedev won, or one of the years that
Mm,
Medvedev was goading at the US Open the last like 3, 4 years. But on
mm-hmm.
grass, I think it's very different. Medvedev is not where he was even 2 years ago on tour. He's less mentally stable on court. He's definitely channeling his like inner Rublev,
Child.
Bublik child. And Grigor's much better on grass, I think, just from his game style. So I actually pick him. I picked him to go up against Yannick in the quarters there.
Ryan, you have single-handedly put me on the Grigor watch party list now because
When he
now I want to.
loses next round, you know who to blame.
Yes, I will be calling you up and be like, you know what, you got my hopes up for no apparent good reason, but it's okay. And maybe it's this pitcher. This pitcher is doing some heavy lifting as well,
Yeah, the plugs are plugging.
and the Lacoste's underwear or
He
underwearing.
makes Lacoste look good. I don't think that Lacoste really does Novak justice, but I think they do. They look. It looks good on Grigor.
That was a good sign. Good job, Lacoste.
Yeah,
If they could just put that time and energy into making Arthur Feast's outfits look like they actually fit him, I'd be happy.
I think Feast is choosing to go a little like a size up, and I think that he just needs to find his like sizing.
I think he does that for a reason, but we'll leave that for after the podcast is over with.
The after party.
The after party. Okay. We did say who Dimitrov plays next. Yeah, the winner of Struff and
And
Medvedev.
Medvedev,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's go back to what things happened today. We had a blast off match between Yastrzemska and Vekic because from what I saw of that match, there was very little point construction and guile. It was like see ball, hit ball, especially from the Yastrzemska side. Unfortunately, it didn't really ultimately do her much justice because she lost 1-6 in the third. So Vekic moves on. I I still don't know what to do with Donna Vekic and except think of Nicole Batisova when I see her.
That was such a great comparison when you made that earlier today, just from like a stroke production kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing and style of game a little bit. I mean, and they
Mm-hmm.
both have terrible taste in men historically, so also a great comparison on that front.
Now
I'm not wrong. Fact check.
I can't vouch for Donna Vekic taste, but I definitely knew like as a I don't know how old I was when I first discovered Nicole Batisova. I just know
Stepanek, yeah.
I wasn't thrilled to see that she had hooked up with Radek Stepanek, especially off the heels of Radek Stepanek
Hingis,
maybe
yeah.
yeah, derailing Hingis's career a bit, maybe possibly sort of.
I will blame him for so Hingis is my all-time favorite tennis player,
Is
male,
she really?
female. Oh yeah, for sure. I was definitely a huge Hingis fan, and I would love to blame her Sergio Tacchini shoes and Radek Stepanek for her career, and the cocaine didn't help. But
I was just about to say, even when she kind of lacked a little formal education, you were there with her.
look, those were dark times when Serena and Hingis really didn't get along, but also the WTA wishes that it had that kind of drama and personalities up at the top right now. To be honest, it's a little dry when it comes to these kind of rivalries. And,
Mm-hmm.
if anyone on the stream or who's watching hasn't read Venus Envy by John Wertheim, it is that and Ladies of the Court are the two best books about tennis, I think, that exist. And you just really see how incredible the late 90s, early 2000s were for personalities on the WTA tour.
There's a detour that this conversation went that I didn't see expecting. I didn't think we'd have a John Wertheim name drop or that he wrote books about that kind of stuff. I really
The
didn't know.
only time I will give that man his flowers is that book because everything else he's done since then has been awful, I think. But that book was exceptional.
For the record, Ryan said that, not me. So don't come running at me about what Miles does and says on his platform. Those were Ryan's thoughts. I may agree, but Ryan opened the door.
But I do want to get back to the match because I actually think this was my favorite match of the day. I watched the whole thing.
Why was it your
Um,
favorite?
the girls were bashing, like you said. They were really tussling in the first two sets. There were, despite it being a lot of big hitting, there was a lot of long rallies, and maybe not point construction in the way that Iga or Coco or even Sabalenka sometimes can construct a point, but they were going for lines. They had really deep returns, great serves, and they didn't back down. Like they really both, I think, performed super well in the first two sets, especially the
Mm-hmm.
second half of the second set. Yastremska really just sort of held her own. And I thought that honestly, the score line for the third would have been reversed and that Yastremska would have won 6-1. But Vekic really impressed me how she kept her calm and showed a lot of maturity, I think, by not dipping in her form. I think the thing was that Yastremska, when she was belting, really just couldn't be stopped. But Vekic was able to weather that storm. She did employ a little bit of variety. She came to net a fair bit. You know, she was able to do some passing shots. She had some drop shots. Like by big ball basher standards, she had a little bit of variety. And I think that Pam Shriver coaching her has been a really good thing for her
Mm-hmm.
career so far.
I enjoy the juxtaposition of how I think Pam Shriver would go about uh, playing tennis and how Donna Vekic goes about playing tennis. And I think that might be exactly why Donna Vekic has her on her team, just for like
Yeah.
that extra perspective. But I do agree with Gavin's. Am I pronouncing that wrong?
Gavin, that's
Gavin?
right.
Gavin? The comment about Yastremska being a discount pinko or Ostapenko, she's a shot maker but isn't consistent at all. When she aligns it, when the stars align for Yastremska, we see things that happened like earlier this year, her getting to the semifinals of Australia. But if those stars aren't aligned, she can hit herself off the court, similar to Ostapenko. So I see what you mean there, David. I
Yeah,
really do.
it's a good point for sure. And I don't know, other than Vidasova, who I would compare Vekic to at this point. Sometimes she reminds me a little bit of Anisimova, just with all of the tools in her arsenal, but really hasn't been able to sort of harness them and can be very inconsistent. But I would love to see her have a deep run at this tournament because she's, you know, she just seems like such a sweet person. She's got a very engaging game. I think she's good for the sport as well. And I don't know, it was, to me, this was my favorite match because it was classic WTA, big babe tennis. And the one thing about Vekic is that she moves really, really well, like sneaky well on grass. She stays low.
Okay.
She had a lot of good angles that she was able to get to from chasing the ball down. It was really nice to see. I don't know. I was impressed, and I have picked her to go to the quarters
Okay.
in my fantasy draw. I had her winning this match against Yastremska, and I had her beating Andreeva next round, but her versus Badosa should be really good.
Oh yeah, that should be a good one. And she's off the heels of a final run in Bad Homburg,
Exactly.
which was a
Yeah.
500. So yeah, she's in pretty good form. Again, like I said at the beginning, I don't really know where to kind of put her because she does have a tendency to kind of just go MIA sometimes. But when she's on the big stage, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, Donna Vekic is like been a former almost top 20 player and has been around for quite a while, and she's darn good. So yeah,
She is. Yeah.
darn good. Good job. You keep making me think about these players that I've forgotten about. This is why I have you on the show.
Well, she was playing a match today, so I didn't have to like really rustle her up out of nowhere.
This is true, but you make me think about them in ways that I hadn't thought about them. Because, you know, honestly, if I'm being transparent, Donna Vekic just seemed like a name and a draw for me at this point, not a potential, you know, second week of a slam. She just, I don't know. It just didn't, it didn't translate like that for me yet.
Well, it's interesting because I was looking up Bekic's like slam history before
Mm-hmm.
the podcast, and she's made it to the fourth round of every slam. She's made it to the quarters at the U.S. Open and the Australian Open. So she's had and shown that she's capable of like honestly better slam or equal slam performances to someone like Pegula, but she just isn't able to turn it
Mm-hmm.
around week to week on the tour. So I would like to see her be more consistent.
Fair enough. Consistency comes in all shapes and form, and one player that has shown a lot of it this season and for the past year or so, I'd say, is the next person that played after. I think before that Donna Vekic match. Actually, it's funny how this schedule looks on my phone now. But I'm talking about Miss Coco Gauff, as she shows up on the screen here. She took out the qualifier from Great Britain, Sane Kartal. Which I think is quickly becoming one of my favorite names to say on the WTA.
Why?
My mind goes to like some level of mob wives.
You were going to say drug cartel. I know that's
Yes. Mob wives, drug cartel, same thing. It goes to that. And then when I watch her, she just is very different from a lot of the players I see week to week on the WTA tour. So that gets her some points my way.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Coco Gauff was having none of that because she beat her 6-4, 6-love. So Uh, Another good, solid performance from Coco. Not too much messing around. Wins in straight sets. Moves on to the round of 16 at Wimbledon, I believe, for the third or fourth time in her career. Definitely 2019,
Yeah,
2020, 2021, and now this
I
year. I know
think
last
third
year,
time. Yeah.
yeah, third time, yeah, because last year we don't count that. We don't. She wasn't even there last year.
I don't even think the tournament was played last year. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
from
Yeah.
my from
Hmm.
from my from my database, it wasn't. So yeah, it's fine.
Other than Alcaraz beating Djokovic in the final, I think that's the only match that took place. Yeah.
That definitely happened. Yeah, we can't forget
Okay.
that one.
Definitely not the women's final. Um, I
Did
thought
you
this was a
watch
good
any of the
match.
Coco match?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing. The first set
Okay.
was spotty, definitely. She started strong and then had a little bit of a lapse, but Cartal played well. She could belt the ball. She's a strong girl, and she was really taking the ball up the lines on both sides, I think, and it took Coco a little bit by surprise, but there was really no world in which I thought Coco wasn't going to figure it out. She's just
Hmm.
very quickly become such a mature, smart player. And I think the problem that she faces is that because she has so many passionate fans on Twitter, unfortunately, everyone has now subjects Coco's matches to the same sort of microscope that they did Serena's and even Rafa's, where every point is really overanalyzed and people make a mountain out of a molehill with a performance. Like this was a
Mm.
6-4, 6-love routine win. Sure, Coco didn't play amazing in the first set, but she's just got a lot of experience and she was really never, I think, in danger of losing. And on grass,
Hmm.
I think the secret weapon that she's kind of got is how great her serve is. Her first serve has become such a big weapon. And if she can continue to finesse the service percentage, honestly, I just need people to shut up about her forehand. Like, we get it. It's never going to be, Sabalenka's or Naomi's forehand, but it's never going to be Wozniacki's too. And I love Wozniacki, but come on, that girl won a slam with the worst forehand in the top 100. And Coco is not terrible. She's able to hit winners off of it. She's able to rally with it. Sure, is she going to shank it a lot? But that's because she's going for it more than I think she used to. And I just think she's going to be great. Like this girl's what, 22, 21? I don't even know how
She's not
young.
even. She's just 20, I think.
Bitch, God, she's so young. She's gonna be totally fine, and her forehand's only gonna get better as she continues. And I just think that she needs to stomp on Navarro next round for me to be
Would
happy.
love to see that, but I wasn't making faces at you. Sometimes my face makes some different shapes and angles when I'm thinking about something. And I was trying to think of a player who has won a Grand Slam, has gotten to the heights that Coco, or some of the heights that Coco has gotten to, and had a unreliable forehand. Obviously, like it's easy to make the Venus comparison because, like, obviously, because
Yeah.
Venus's forehand definitely was a weaker side. But if I'm trying to go through the weeds, I can only think of the opposite. I can think of players who had big, huge moments that had weak backhands, a la Sam Stosur, Ani Ivanovic.
Hmm.
Uh, who else had like a ground stroke that everyone knew was the
I
side
mean,
that
I
if
would
it
say
got
like
tight,
Graf, her backhand
yeah.
is not her forehand.
Hmm.
Even Sampras, like it's definitely, if you have the stellar forehand, I think that can sometimes be the best weapon that will really sort of take you to the top. But I don't know.
What's Ash Barty? I mean, her slice was
Who?
amazing.
Who?
Did you not hear what I said, or are you just not acknowledging it?
I don't know who you're talking about.
There was once this Australian lady who was number one for quite a long time.
Gumagong. Oh,
One
that's the only Australian number one player that I know. Or Alicia Malik, actually. I liked her a lot.
I did like Alicia Malik. There's Alicia Malik. There's a point that Serena played against Alicia Malik at Wimbledon actually that I love very, very much. Do you know that point I'm talking about?
I do. She gave as good as she got sometimes. She had a good game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think
Um,
Coco is given as much as she has given this season. Like I can't remember the last time she won 3 straight matches and straight sets outside of the French Open, I think.
I don't know. I mean, to me, she's just had a very consistent year, and got the type of game that she's going to go deep in so many draws that they're going to break, enough of them are going to break her way that she's going to rack up titles and slams. Lots of them won't break her way because she is just not the biggest hitter on court. And if you play enough slam quarters and semis, you're going to run into a big babe tennis player who's playing lights out every now and then. And sometimes you just can't do anything about it. But I thought her US Open title last year really showed that she can do it and she's going to do it again. It's just a matter of how many times and how many times is she going to have to try to beat Iga in a slam. And I think that will be, I really hope that it doesn't become, what I'm really worried about is that it will become a Federer Roddick type of rivalry where she will run up against Iga in enough slams that it basically shuts down a lot of her potential and her career. But I'm really hoping that's not the case. And I don't know. Yeah.
And Vanessa in the YouTube comments brings up a good point. At Sabine Lisicki had a huge forehand but 0 slams, so it kind of works. It kind of works both ways. You can have strong weapons and not really get to the heights of the sport that you'd like, even with those strong weapons. And you can have inefficiencies in your game and still be, get the most out of your tennis. So it does work both ways.
And that's why we love the WTA. Is that I think anyway. Like we love to stand people who have a nice, beautiful two-handed backhand or can hit a great drop shot or who have a great serve, but very few female tennis players have everything. And I think that's what makes obviously someone like Serena so special, or even I would say like Monica Seles is somebody who I think did everything exceptionally well at her prime anyway. But I love Coco more because she has a janky forehand. That's why I love Wozniacki. That's why I love Hingis. Like my girls have big backhands and shit forehands, and I'm okay with that because my forehand sucks.
I didn't know you liked Wozniacki. I thought you were distinctly rooting for Leylah Fernandez in her match the other day.
Because I love Leylah. Caro's time has passed.
This is true.
I was the biggest Wozniacki, stan in 2010, 2011, 2012. I've been in the trenches with that girl. When she lost the Australian Open semifinals to Lena, I was distraught.
After having a match point, yeah.
But Leylah is young and up and coming, and with Emma doing well, I wanted her to continue her form and really sort of push through a slam draw. And also, Wozniacki on grass should be a fucking gimme. So it was really embarrassing that she lost that match. But Caro served big and hit some forehand winners, so can't be mad.
Sabine Lisicki agrees about Wozniacki being a walk in the park on grass. If you know, you know.
I don't think I know who that player is either, actually. Yeah.
Okay, for the interest of time, before we go to look ahead for tomorrow, mid-Saturday's matchups, let's run through some more results that were, happening around the grounds, but maybe I didn't get to put two eyes on. Madison Keys took out Marta Kostyuk, 6-4, 6-3. Madison Keys is doing the thing that she quite often does in big tournaments, which is making her way through the draw, and then you kind of look up and you're like, oh wait, Madison Keys is in the quarters. Could she win this whole thing?
And the answer is always no.
History shows that the answer is often not quite, but you never know. We've talked about things just falling your way. Maybe things will fall Madison Keys' way at this Grand Slam. I'm not sure. I wouldn't hate to see it, but I think I said in the last stream that she's one of the players that I would put in the small category of players that I feel like, quote unquote, deserve a slam because they've been so close yet so far,
I would disagree because she just has no plan B to her game. Like when her A game, which is exceptional, doesn't work, she is not capable, or she hasn't yet shown that she's capable of changing it up. And so I don't think you deserve a slam if you have a bunch of mind-numbingly bad losses late in the slam when you should win.
Fair enough.
I would love for her to win, but yeah.
Fair enough. Sticking with the women, Lulu Sun is having the tournament of her life. Lulu Sun from New Zealand, originally born in New Zealand, lived in Switzerland, or other way around. Either way, she's played for Switzerland at one point or another, but now she plays for New Zealand. She is through to the round of 16, taking out Zhu of China in 2 straight tiebreak sets. That is awesome. Lulu Sun is benefiting from taking out China's Zheng Qinwen. So she's effectively the 8th seed or something now. So she's having, like I said, the tournament of her life. And also another women's result, Emma Navarro, who is stunning the people with her play and her personality, took out Diana Schneider after coming back from a set down 2-6, 6-3, 6-4. I think you made a tweet about Emma Navarro earlier this week. Do you care to share?
I watched an interview with her on ESPN, and I just thought it's a shame that she can't buy a personality with all of that money that she's got. And I stand by it. Look, she's clearly played well. Schneider has been having a really good year and an exceptionally good grass year. And actually, she's 2-0 against Navarro this year. So that's a big win for Emma off of her upsetting win over over Naomi. And she plays Coco next. So I'm really hoping that Coco can, bring her A game and beat her. But
Handle business.
you can't deny that the girl is the billionaire of the moment for sure.
And a billionaire by way of her father either owning Credit One Bank or having some kind of affiliation with Credit One Bank and the Charleston terminal, the WTA. So
I don't care to know the details of how somebody gets that rich.
I do know that she's had a standing wild card at the Charleston tournament for a couple of solid years now. And I do have to say, for the years that she had that standing wild card and you really wouldn't see her anywhere else, it kind of just felt like, well, she's benefiting from having a rich father. But here we are in 2024, and I got to give props where props are due. She put in the hard yards where really no one was watching. There were maybe one camera in the stands and two other people. Winning ITFs, winning WTA challengers. She won her first WTA 250 at the beginning of the year at Hobart. And she finds herself she's the number 19 seed here at Wimbledon. So she put in the hard yard. So I think for that, I tip my cap to her. I agree with you. I can't say she's somebody I'm running to the television to kind of watch and see what she does on the court, but something is good enough that she has become a top 20 player and is beating people that she, quote unquote, should be beating. So kudos to her for that, really.
Agreed, for sure. She is giving me, even in game style, very much like Pegula, which is crazy because they're both billionaires. Maybe they have the same private trainers. I don't know. But I'm curious to see whether somebody who's really consistent but doesn't maybe have a huge weapon, like whether she'll sort of stall at the same level in the Grand Slams or if she can break through and ever have a deep run.
Would you want to put her in your top 10?
No.
Okay. Any elaboration as to why, or have we already covered it?
No.
Oh my gosh, you're a hoot. Okay. I think there were some men's matches that we didn't mention. Oh, actually, before we go over to the men's match, we did not mention because there's only one left that got completed. Daria Kasatkina on paper was upset by Paula Badosa, former world number 2 and Indian Wells champion. Paula Badosa had a nice moment on the court right after her victory that I commented on Twitter. And she basically said a couple months ago she didn't know if she was going to be able to continue playing tennis. And now here we are at Wimbledon and she's in the round of 16, a place she's been before, which she acknowledged in the interview. But this one feels more special because she just didn't know that it would ever happen for her again with the back injuries that she's had and just different off-court struggles. So that's the nice story for Miss Paula Badosa. How do you feel?
It is. I'm very happy to see her playing so well. And again, I think seeing people like Bianca and Emma and Paula all be healthy, you realize, I think, what the women's game could have in the top 20, top 15 if they all continue to be healthy. And I watched all of this match and she played really well, like very controlled, aggressive tennis. Her backhand is exceptional. And I like Kasatkina as a person, but tennis-wise, that girl did not need to be in a fourth round at Wimbledon with those forehands and the loops and everything. So I'm really happy that Badosa won. And I don't know, I think her versus Vekic is like a good match of like what could have been almost of people who maybe's careers could have gone a little bit differently in the past couple years. So I really look forward to one of them being in the quarters, but it was a really fun match. It was pretty high quality.
And Paula Badosa was somebody, I think I made a YouTube video a couple of months ago about kind of, where have they been lately? It was Paula Badosa, Emma Raducanu, Jennifer Brady, who's unfortunately back on injury, Amanda Anisimova. I'll link that somewhere in the description or something if you haven't watched it, because I think it was some good work. But Paula Badosa was somebody that you were like, wait, she was number 2 in the world, and we're looking for her in draws. Either she's not in them at all or she's retiring before she even gets started. And it is nice to say, like I said, it's nice to see rather momentum kind of getting behind her, because the tennis is there. If you go back and watch some of those highlights from the 2021 Indian Wells, although that was an awkward timing, it was in like October or something, and maybe it didn't have the full functioning draw because of COVID. That championship match and even the run to that championship match, she showed that she has elite level tennis in her. So for her to be showing it again is a testament to the level she has in her. So I'm happy for her. I really am.
I'm really happy that it's not her turn to be the one making sandwiches, and that Steph can just sit on the sidelines and, like, give her a good foot rub and cheer her on from the box.
Because he has nothing but time because he's out of the tournament now. So yeah,
Nothing but time.
someone who's still in the tournament, and I actually don't know if he is like on your radar as a fave. I think you know how I feel about this guy because we've
Hmm.
talked and we've chatted. But one of the guys to make it through the fourth round, waving the American flag, is Mr. Tommy Paul. He took out Alexander Bublik very comfortably, 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. And they even had like a little special handshake moment at the net, which I thought was kind of endearing. Um, so yeah, Tommy Paul continues his really, really good trajectory on this grass court season because he won Queens Club, which was the biggest title of his career, an ATP 500, and now he's into the fourth round of Wimbledon. So, what do we do with
Yeah,
that
I mean,
information?
I know that his girlfriend is just so excited at the prospect of being in the photo shoot with him and that, Wimbledon trophy. So I hope for her sake and all of our sake that it happens. I don't have I don't really have a personal opinion on Tommy Paul. I think his game is serviceable. I think he's very good. I think he's maximizing a lot of his potential, but I don't really
Mm-hmm.
think that he has what it takes to become like a consistent top 5 player. Top 10, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Quarters, semis here and there. Clearly he's proven that he can do that, but he's going to run up against bigger, better players more often than not. And I think that that'll stop him from ever probably winning a slam. Also, I don't know where he leans on the political spectrum, so I kind of have to, with reserve judgment on liking him until I know whether he leans Democrat or not.
But you can see where he leans on the vascular sector, right? Do you see that arm?
Look, he's an attractive man. Like, we
Oh,
can
so
do a
you
whole
agree with
podcast.
me? You
Oh,
agree with me?
definitely. Oh,
Okay,
I'm
okay,
not
great, great,
blind.
great.
Yeah, I just
Well,
don't.
some people want to challenge me and say that I have like the world's worst sunglasses on when I say Tommy Paul is an attractive human and would be on the cover of the next Abercrombie and Fitch
Oh, he's
ad.
Hollister, Abercrombie, Fitch
Yeah.
down for sure. But I'm not one to talk because if you look at my Twitter this past week, I've been saying that a lot of men are attractive and a lot of people have disagreed with me. Like, so I have questionable taste apparently.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah,
So it's okay.
yeah. But yeah, fine. He beat Bublik, who I don't like, so I'm happy and I don't care beyond that.
I'm happy for Tommy Paul. I want him to keep
Yeah.
going. I think it could be another good season. It already is a good season for him, but I think there's even a higher heights for Mr. Tommy Paul. So
Yeah.
go Tommy. All right, let's take a gander into tomorrow's order of play. If that's fine with you.
Yep.
I don't think you'll be happy with where we start though, because I don't think this person or this set of opponents is
Mm-hmm.
necessarily up there on your fave. And I'm talking about the center court opening between Alexander Zverev and Cameron Norrie. Any
I want to
any
be
thoughts?
transparent. I hate this center court order of play from top to bottom. I want Nori and Zverev to both lose. Jabeur and Svitolina. I'm giving you my quick takes, and then
Give it
we
to
can
me.
dive into stuff.
Give it to
Jabeur and
me.
Svitolina are never going to happen, and I don't really care who wins between the two of them. Popperin and Djokovic, like, so boring. Put it on court two. No one cares what's going to happen in this match. It's so predictable. So this whole, if I had center court tickets for tomorrow, I would sell them.
Is that how you really feel?
Yes.
I think I would stick around for the Ange Jabeur and Svitolina match just because, in theory, that has the ability to be fun. Like they
Yeah.
both cover a lot of court. Ange Jabeur obviously knows her way around tricks and dinks around the court. And Svitolina is good at tracking all of those down. But I
And
do
Svitolina had a
agree.
great Wimbledon last year, right?
She
Like,
did.
she's
She's
clearly can play on this new grass that's not as fast as the old grass. So it would be, look, that could be a very fun match. I just think
mm-hmm.
from a bigger tournament perspective, I just don't have as much of an investment in it. And I would have preferred Raducanu, former champion, to be on the center court against Wozniacki, even if that match might not be as competitive.
Do you think Raducanu is going to wipe the floor with Wozniacki?
She should, if she has any self-respect.
What about Iga versus Putin which is the match before that on court one?
I find it really hard to care because I actually dislike Putintseva quite a bit. I think that her attitude sucks. and her game is okay at best sometimes. I think Iga should win quite easily. Iga's proven that she can play very well on grass. People do like to
Hmm.
think that she's just a clay court merchant, but Iga
And
can
she's not.
play
Yeah.
on every surface, and she's exceptionally talented. And I think that, Putintseva maybe could sneak out a set if Iga's playing really badly, but I think Iga should 4-3 that match.
Fair enough, but I am pushing to see Iga tested because I want to. I just want to see it.
Next
I
round.
saw it with. I saw it with Sinner. I saw it with Carlos Alcaraz. Um,
She
I
will
want
get
to. I want to
tested,
see
but
her pushed. Yeah.
it won't be until Ostapenko, or I think like Collins, hopefully.
Please, please, Ostapenko, if you're listening, just make the match happen. Just make the
Yeah,
match
that's all we
happen.
want. Yeah, we just want to see the match.
Yeah, we don't want. We're not even asking for much.
Yeah.
We're not even begging. Before we go to the next court, if we do at all, opening up number one court is a continuation of two lefties that I enjoy, Ben Shelton and Denis Shapovalov. Who are you more invested in? I know you're Canadian, obviously, but are you more invested in Ben Shelton or Shapovalov?
I'm pretty 50-50 on this. I'll be happy for whoever wins. Like, Dennis has been coming off of a really long, like 9-10 month injury spell. So for him to be back healthy and playing, I think is really good to see. And he's had a bit of a lackluster return. So for
Mm-hmm.
him to be in the third round and maybe have the prospect of, getting to the fourth round, I would love to see that. And Ben's had a pretty shitty grass court season, compared to his clay court season, which was really surprisingly good. I mean, he won.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really count Houston as a real clay court tournament because it's not like real clay court players on
Mm-hmm.
it. So good for him. But, he's been a little lackluster on the grass, and he should have a really good grass game. And I think over the coming years he will. I just think this is a fun match. Big servers, really fun, both hotheads, both kind of sloppy and messy. This is a very WTA match in my mind.
I'm with it, and now you're gonna have to make me like set my alarm to make sure I watch it. Yeah,
Oh
I'm
God,
with
I
it.
know. I'm gonna have to wake up too. Yeah.
I know. Okay, in a quick round of Do You Care?
Ooh.
Andy Murray and Emma Raducanu in mixed doubles taking on Marcelo Arveo and Zheng Shuai. Do you care?
No, not at all.
Oh,
The only time I care about mixed doubles is when you had Hingis playing with Pays, or when you've got like Serena or Andy in there. I love Murray, but like, you're in the pasture, dude. Retire. Hang it up.
oh wow. All right. I'm sure there's a Brit somewhere that is just
They're asleep.
steaming.
They're asleep. I don't care.
Do you think they're going to wake up to watch Harriet Dart versus Wang Jingyu?
They probably will, and it would be really hilarious if Dart lost that.
Why? Why would that be hilarious?
Just because, I don't know, I think Bolter has a much better game overall, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
really choked it in the last round with her forehand going AWOL in the third set. And I think Bolter had it in her to go to the fourth round, maybe quarters. And I just think Dart has a really great game, but is a little more passive. And I don't really know much about Wang, to be fair. So I just think it would be really a shame if she, let this kind of opportunity go, which is very British of her. So that's kind of what I expect.
I'm with it. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. After Harriet Dart does whatever she's going to do, there's going to be a continuation of Medvedev leading Jan Leonard Struff to finish at 6-1, 6-3, 4-6, 1 all. I'd circle that because it's on number
Why?
2 court.
To skip?
No, not to skip, because I do think I think it's possible that Jan Leonard Struff can usher in a comeback. I do think
This is
I think
irrational
he
of me, but I hate Struff more than almost any ATP player. And it's because in my mind, he is always beating Felix or Dennis or Milos in a match. I don't know. The stats probably don't support this, but I feel like he has a sneaky good record against all of the Canadian men. And he's just always a pest in my mind. He's always there. And he probably could beat Medvedev, but I think Daniel will clean him up tomorrow and then fold over against Grigor in the next round. And you could not pay me to watch that match.
Well, I'm still glad you told me your feelings, because here at Tuned into Tennis, even though it's not stats, feelings do matter. We take those into account.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Some other matches that are happening. Taylor Fritz, also on number 2 court, is taking on the
Spicy
Eastbourne.
Fritz is the best Fritz. He's added a little cayenne to against
Taylor
Camilo.
Fritz. Taylor Fritz is the Eastbourne champion, and Tabillo is the Mallorca champion. So that's a battle of grass court winners this season.
Great match. I would have put it on court 1. I don't know who I would have bumped, maybe Ben and Dennis, but I know they need to finish that match under cover, so that's why they moved it there. I think that could be a really good match. I have Taylor in the semis. He's been really improving a lot in the past couple of years. His court coverage at the French Open before his injury really impressed me. his game has grown leaps and bounds. And I think that he is just a very, very good player right now. And I would love to see him keep it up because I find his tennis actually kind of fun. He's not a serve bot. He's got some good variety. And his, shit talking of Rinderknecht after the match last round was chef's kiss.
The shit talking has elevated him, but as somebody that watched him play in real time this year at Delray Beach, I can't say that I necessarily agree with all of those things. He was
I'm going to tell him that, so the next time you go and you interview him, he shit talks you to your face.
But I would, if you had let me finish, I would have said that although I find his game kind of metronomic, he does the same things really, really well repeatedly. It's still really, really good. Like it's effective enough to beat a lot of the players. So I'm not calling him a bad tennis player at all. It just doesn't necessarily make me stay up at night wanting to see it or wake up in the morning to kind of like get first glance at it,
Very fair, for sure.
But I do like when he is trolling his opponents and telling them to have a great flight.
Iconic.
I do appreciate that. Okay. In the interest of time, what's on this number 3 court? We got Danielle Collins versus Beatrice Haddad-Maia. Aren't you a Danielle Collins fan?
I am. I think it's been really nice. Not a stan. It's been really nice to see her on her sort of swan song and seeing how her career, and her level has only continued to improve after she made it to that Australian Open final a couple years ago. So I would like for her to have a deep run. She's capable of it. In that top half, which I personally think is a little bit of a boring and kind of dry top half, her making it to the quarters against Iga would be, I think, a highlight. And I just think she's a really lovely person, and Beatrice is very boring. So I would really hope that Danielle wins.
What about Ostapenko versus Bernarda Pera on court 12?
I do not care for Ostapenko's game, but if that girl does not keep it together and beat Pera into the ground so that she can play Iga in the next round, I will hate her forever.
What if neither make it? What if Bernarda Pera and Putintseva pull off those upsets?
Then I will stop watching women's tennis. I don't know. Because that would be depressing.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen, because I've had way too much fun in this conversation for you to stop watching women's tennis or tennis in general, honestly.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate you giving me the platform to talk a lot of shit and probably make some people mad, and I'm okay with that.
And drink your wine. What kind of wine have you been drinking, by the way?
It's a wine that somebody brought over to my house. I could not tell you what kind it is. It is red. That's all I know.
That sounds like you have good friends and good taste in wine. So it all works together. Do you want to tell people where they can follow you on socials for more of your blazing Wimbledon thoughts? No, don't care to?
I mean, I don't really necessarily need more people messaging me or complaining to me, but I think my Twitter handle is RYBKR, which, as you so fondly said, reminds you of Raducanu, who's your least favorite player, and you've done a very good job of not insulting her tonight, so that's really well done. So RYBKR. If you disagree with me, I don't care.
I don't know if I'd actually call Raducanu on this platform yet, but you have just completely outed me, so now I have to stand in my truth, and here I am. Yeah, she's boring to me. Sorry, Raducanu, but apparently a good grass court player, enough to have a Wimbledon title. So there we are. All right, this has been a great recap of day 5 at Wimbledon and a great look ahead to day number 6. If you haven't already and you're listening to this, make sure to like this stream, subscribe on YouTube, and subscribe to the podcast if you're listening back in podcast form, and make sure to follow Tuned Into Tennis on social platforms at Tuned Into Tennis. For some reason, me and Instagram are having a tiff right now, but I think you can still go and follow and support the page that way. But all that said, it's been a lovely conversation, Ryan, and I will get out of here because I have a party to attend. It has nothing to do with Wimbledon, but I need a good drink. And
what are you drinking tonight?
You know what? I have some Prosecco that I haven't opened. Issa Rae's. I'm not that classy. I just like Issa Rae's Prosecco. And I may stop at the liquor store and get a very specific brand of Reposado tequila called Lobos. If you guys have never heard of it, Myles is telling you first. LOBOS.
Plug. Hopefully they set up a deal with you.
If anybody is listening to this that has a connection to that brand, I'm 21 and older. I will gladly put the bottle right here and
maybe
just be
Issa
like,
Rae
hi.
Listening, and she can give you her Prosecco deal too. Who knows?
Thank you for reminding me. Issa Rae, if you have stumbled across this, that Prosecco is chef's kiss.
Somebody tag her in the comments.
All right, guys, this has been fun. Talk to you later. Bye.